Although we have seen that we can write the entire code in the the website itself. So they allow us on the web-based application itself, right? But along with that, they also provide you with a developer console where you can again go and write the code, right? So we have seen that we write Apex classes directly here. You can also write Apex classes on a developer console. Where do you find the developer console? It is here. If you click on your name, you will see developer console. Okay, it opens in a new window. Okay, so here is our developer console. Opens up as a new window. Fine. So here you have a few options. You can go and check the logs, debug logs and all. You can do the test. Fine. You have a query editor here. You don't actually need to get into too many things here, but the important things that we need to understand is if you want to run a query, let's say you want to say select name from account, execute the query. See, so any query, QuickTime query, you want to just execute or test your query, you can quickly put it here, or you can edit the query here, right? So this query editor is there available. I'm just saying show me later. Once you are there, you can just say start tour. That will help you, that will give you the details of this query editor and all those things. Okay. So you can use this query editor for formulating queries and all those things. This will be helpful. Then you can also create things from here. You can define new Apex class, Visual Force page, Apex trigger from here. Fine. So instead of creating the Apex class from there, we have an option of creating an Apex class from developer console also. So you create a class, give it a name, let's say class 6. So no basic difference as such between the class that you create there and the class you create here. The only difference is that you are creating it on the developer console and you are creating it on the web. That's it. Otherwise, there is functionality wise it's going to be same. The same class you have to reference and all those things. Yeah, here your code is written more like any other coding platform. So it gives you this coloring and all those things so that you keep on while writing the code also you keep on getting an idea whether you are typing the correct code or not. Alright. Now functionality wise it's almost same. No problem at all with that. Fine, you can create Visual Force page also from here. Create a Visual Force page. Right, so see all tabs have been opened here. So this can be the class, this can be the page and all these things. For Visual Force page I would not recommend developer console because our page editor is much better. It shows you the real-time results and all. For classes, in case you want, you can use this one. If this interface looks more comfortable to you. I am more comfortable writing codes on that one because earlier there was no developer console and I'm pretty used to writing codes there. So that is the thing. So it depends on how comfortable you are, but you should know that we have this option of doing things from developer console also, right? So Salesforce.com plans to that is something that I feel that they are going to do sometime in future, and they plan to do it. They will remove the coding option from there where we go and create the developer develop Apex class, and gradually they want everyone to come and write code here. So this is a better interface, practically speaking, for Apex classes and all those things, coding. If you see there, you do not get any signals, the color thing is not there, indents are not proper. So this is a better place to write your code and all, but people who are used, people like me who are used to that, it's difficult for us to get into this part. Not difficult, I mean code writing is absolutely same, but a habit. But you can write codes here. The other thing is you can do your queries here. You can test the code here. Okay. Now testing wala thing we will see. We have not yet talked on the testing part. You can debug your code here. Okay. So debugging the code, you can open, execute an anonymous window and put some code and debug that. You can debug an anonymous block of code, right? Any code you just want to quickly run or execute, you can do this, but this will actually not do anything. And this debug thing, it will not actually perform any action, it will just debug the code, it will just check the code, that's it, nothing else. Fine. So debugging option and test options we have, we can also go and edit some of the things which are already available. Find replace is easy, and yeah, see, find and replace option is there. So let's say you have changed the name of one of the variables and you just want to quickly replace it in all of those. We do not have a find replace option in the code which we write here on Salesforce. So here we do not have find replace kind of thing, right? But on developer console you have, so that wise it's fine, easy. So yeah, so that's about our developer console. Okay, any problems or challenges, and it will come here. Okay, yeah, you can debug everything line by line. So that is not a problem. Whatever you want to debug, you have this option of putting the code here and then execute the debug thing. Okay, let's say you debug this entire thing. This is a complete class that you have. You want to execute and open a log for it. Getting executed. See, here is the execution log for it. Yeah.
Suppose we write a Apex trigger, right? So on click of a button, we are creating a new record and trigger is getting triggered. So is there any way we can debug after the UI is clicked? Then we can come to developer console and go through line by line and check the values somewhere.
Yeah, so this debug log is not that helpful for that. The other debug log which is there in the UI itself, that is more helpful in those lines. So I'll show you that one also. This basically talks more on your governor limits and all those things, number of SQL queries used and all those things. If you have any debug statements, you can see those debug statements here. System.debug statements, if you have, those can be seen here. See, so you just did it, success. Then what we are looking at. Okay, so there is another way of debugging the code. So this is where we actually come and debug the code for checking small things and all. Other way of the line by line debug, or looking into what was done, what happened first and not. For that we have another option, which is, because see, this developer console is more restricted to the Apex code. Okay, if we have written a code block, that is what we saw, right? We write a code block and we are debugging that. So it just takes care of that bit of it. But there is another debug log. If you come here If you click on setup, then go to monitor logs, debug logs. You see it here? This debug logs takes care of everything. Okay, so whatever is being done, it takes care of everything, and then you can actually go and view. Now this is the thing. Execution started, code unit started, cumulative limit usage. Execution finished. Fine. So in case, if you remember, I was talking the other day about our transactions, right? So in case, in the transaction we talked about different things, right? So when a record is being inserted or when a DML operation is about to happen on your system, there are a lot of things which go on in the back end. So it's not just about the code or it's not just about the trigger that you have written, right? So there are system validations and there are custom validations, and then there are triggers, and then there are certain workflow rules, and finally the data is committed, right? So this debug log takes care of everything, right? Now if you perform a validate, you perform an action which triggers a workflow rule, that will also be captured under this debug logs, right? The only thing that you have to do is you have to go and start the debug logs. So monitor which user you want to start the debug log for, right? So you can, as you read here, you can monitor and retain debug logs for users specified below. So usually you will have to specify for which all users you want to monitor the debug logs. So you might not want to do it for everyone. So for the ones you want to do, or if you are trying to run something and see what happened. Let's say you are trying to run a code block and check what happened. So you can do this. You can just define this. Okay. The system generates a debug log for a user every time that user executes a transaction. So the transaction thing that we talked about, that is included in the filter criteria. Okay. So every time the user executes a transaction, at that point of time this system creates a debug log. Okay, now what all things are tracked under debug logs? Give me a moment, I will show you what all is tracked in debug logs. Okay, so you see a debug log can record database operations, system processes and errors that occur when executing a transaction or running unit test, right? So this debug log can track these things: database operations or any DML operations, system process, any system process and errors. These can be tracked, right? Database changes, Apex errors, resources used by Apex. So resources, it was giving us details of how many SOSL, SOQL used and all. So that will be given. Automated workflow processes such as workflow, assignment rules, approval process, these things. So everything is tracked here. Okay. So each debug log, again there are certain limitations here, right? Once a user is added to that, so adding the user is from here, we saw this, right? You just go to monitor, debug logs, and you add the user, okay? Now if you read it here, once a user is added, that user can record up to 20 debug logs. So 20 recent debug logs of that user are tracked. Okay, any point of time you can just have 20 latest ones. Okay, after a user reaches this limit, debug log stops being recorded for that user. Click reset. So okay, you have to click on the reset to reset the set of the debug logs. Each log can be only of 2 MB size. If it is greater than that 2 MB, then the older lines keeps on getting deleted. So that is one thing. Each organization can retain up to 50 MB of debug logs. So any point of time, your limit for debug logs retaining is 50 MB. Right. So ideally, debug log is something that you do not do, and you do not record it for viewing at a very later point of time. So usually people do it that, okay, fine, while executing the code or while testing something, they just run the debug log, they track things, look into it, and after that it's not required, so you can go back and reset it. So that sort of thing, right? So this is all what is monitored. I think it will be good for you to remember these things at least, because sometimes you might have a question in 401 also regarding what all things will be tracked in a debug log. So it's not from the Apex error point of view, because Apex is not a part of 401, but this is all from declarative side, right? So this part can be a question, right? What all things can be tracked on a debug log. Okay, so now what all sections a debug log has and all those things is described here, so you can actually go and read a little bit of details there. Okay, there is again a system.debug comment you can put while you're debugging things. Sometimes you might want to debug a statement so that you can find it out, figure it out, that okay, fine, where it actually happened or what did it actually return, right? So I had my code here, right? Let's say you want to add two integers. Integer I equals 8. So you can debug this thing, right? So this is a debug statement. It does not do anything. It is just for sometimes for us to check the checkpoints whether it actually got correctly done or not, right? Sometimes it happens that we are writing a code. It will happen to you. I mean, for people who are maybe who have not done that much of coding practically and all, sometimes you will feel this requirement that you're writing a big code and you are trying to execute a big thing, and somehow that functionality that you wanted to happen is not happening, right? So at that point of time, you just try to figure out where exactly it is breaking. See, you started the code, it is not showing you any error. Syntax wise your code is fine. If there is syntax error, it's fine. Syntax wise it's fine, but somehow you are not getting the expected results. So if you are not receiving the expected results, now what we need to do after that, we just try to figure out where we are making a mistake. So in that situation, it's a good practice to put some debug statements. So these are like checkpoints, right? So that you understand that, okay, fine, your code is working fine till this point or not. Let's say, I wanted some operation to happen if the value of k is more than 15, right? And finally my operation is not happening. I want to send an email. Giving an example, if k is more than 15, send an email, right? Now finally my email is not being sent. Now I will start wondering where the error is. Is k not getting value which is more than 50, or is it something with the send email method? Is there's some mistake there, right? So it will be a good practice that you try put a checkpoint here, so that at least you get to know what value of k is being generated, right? So this kind of thing. So now let's take this, try to debug it. Debug anonymous code block. Execute. Sorry. Integer. That's good. See, so the debug statement returns 17. So now at least you get a confirmation. So these kind of things, I mean, there can be a lot of these things when you start writing code, and if it is getting a little complex, you can just debug things and try to understand, okay, till what point your code is working fine, and after that again you can put another checkpoint like debug, system.debug and all that ways, right? Now this if you run some code in your give me a minute, I have how many debug logs are here in the system. Let me reset this. Okay. Now on leads, I have a button which executes some code and all, so I'll just go to a lead. Oh, I don't have this on this one. I think I have it on my developer edition. Yeah, I have a question. Yes, Satish. So it returns the value of k, right, in the debug log. Did you see that?
I saw that, but it will not stop on that code like any other scripts, right? Where breakpoint in the code, not after we run.
No, not breakpoint. The complete code will be executed. It will just the system.debug is just doing the just returning you some results so that you can see that value in the debug log and get an idea of that is your code performing as per your expectation or not, that sort of thing, right?
Okay, so that is true even for Eclipse also when you use the first.com IDE.
Yeah, that's true. But now we do not use Eclipse because developer console is much better, and Salesforce recommends that. You can use Eclipse, but now we do not do that.
Okay.
Alright. So check one code here. Okay, I think we just created a page. Let's go. Okay, now let me go and see the debug logs for this user. Go to the setup. So I performed some action which had some Apex code involved. Go to logs. See, executed this one. Log size, start time, everything is mentioned here. So I think I performed this thing twice. There's the user, view the debug logs, execution started, what all happened, entire detail. So in my class I have these methods and all, right? Accounts, get accounts. So this method got executed, and then the search text get method worked, then this invoked. Okay, and the code unit started, set search text came into picture, right? So your entire code is being shown here, reflected here, that okay, and what happened and what did not happen and all. After maybe after the get method or set method, in case you try or want to perform a system.debug to find out what is the actual value, okay, which was set or what value was returned, you want to check it here. If you are not getting the actual result or the desired result, you can put those system.debug things there as checkpoints, and that way it will work. Like what is the result that is being returned, you want to see it in the code rather than on the interface. Then you can again do a system.debug and try to fetch the data from that existing thing and reflect it here. Got that thing? So that's about debugging the code and understanding the errors and all. So you can also have the option of downloading the debug logs from here if you want to download, because Salesforce can only hold 50 MB, right? So you can download and keep it with you at a later point of time if you might want to refer back to it, or you just want to save it. Just save it and then reset it, right? Okay, so that is about the debug log. Now there is another thing. Debugging the code is a good habit, but debugging the code is for our benefit. Our benefit, or for us to find out where we where our code is working properly or not properly. Now testing the code. Testing of a code basically is required to deploy any code to production. Any Apex that you write needs to be tested before it can be moved to production, or before you can create a package out of it. Yesterday we created packages, right? So in the package, before any Apex code can come into the package, the code needs to be tested. Okay, so Salesforce has defined certain standards and the code needs to be tested as per those standards, so that before you deploy the actual code, you figure out whether the code is working as per expectations or not. Fine, whatever you want that code to do, is that code performing as per expectations or not, that needs to be tested. Till the time you do not test the code, you cannot deploy it. Okay, so there is a simple concept here. I will show it to you, give me a minute. Okay. So come here on this link. I'll share this link with you again. Now, testing is the key to success of your application, particularly if your application is to be deployed to customers. Okay. If you validate that your application works as expected, that there are no unexpected behaviors, your customers are going to trust you more. So that is again on your customer side. But you as a customer of Salesforce, or you as a Salesforce developer, you will need to test the code, or you will need to test the behaviors before you can deploy the code. Okay. So far what we have seen that Salesforce has two approaches. One is declarative. So there are certain declarative or out of the box functionalities like workflows, validation, assignment tools. Those are all Salesforce defined, and our defined logics which come through Apex, right? In Visualforce we do not define any logic or anything. Apex is where the entire thing is. That is where we are defining the functionalities, features, behaviors. Now Salesforce wants you to test your Apex before you deploy it, so that it does not throw too many errors. Because every code, if starts throwing error too many times, then what will happen? Performance will be hampered, right? Not your performance of the entire server. Fine. You have created a code which just works for one single record, other records it is not working, right? So that is the thing. That is why Salesforce wants you to test all Apex code before they can be deployed. Okay. Now Salesforce has a simple logic. What they say, whatever Apex you have written, okay, let's say you have written 100 lines of code. You have written a class and you have 100 lines of code. Salesforce says at least 75 lines of code should have been tested before deployment. This is what is required. 75 line, in other words, they say 75% code coverage is required. So code coverage is given based on each line of code, right? So out of 100, 75 lines, or 75% of the code coverage. So percentage is decided based on the number of lines of code that you have. Yeah, Satish, unit test and all, right? So this 75% code coverage is required for any Apex which can be deployed, okay, to the production, or if you want to create a package. So if you see here, I created a class, class 6. If you see code coverage, none at this point of time. Okay. So Salesforce wants a 75% minimum code coverage, anything between 75 to 100 for any code which can be deployed. So if you have written the code, that is one part. If you want to, the moment you try to deploy it, till the time you are not deploying, till the time you are working on your sandbox, keep on working on the code will work fine. The code does not have a problem. The moment you have tested and you have checked the code is working fine, you also have to do a test class or a test method you have to define, which checks whether the code is working fine. So one is your actual method, understand this thing. One is the actual method. Let's say your actual method is to insert data. Okay, this actual method performs insert operation, let's say. Okay, and whether this insert operation is working fine or not, for that you have to define a test method. Okay, so that is the thing, that is the logic. So you'll have to write a test method to see whether your insert method is working fine or not, or this particular method, actual method, is working fine or not. So this is what testing means, right? So in this insert method, if there are 20 lines of code, at least 15 lines of code need to be tested properly. Fine. So that is what our Salesforce suggests. At least 75% of your Apex code must be covered by unit test, and all of those tests must complete successfully. Yeah, so test should complete successfully. Then only when deploying to a production organization, every unit test in the organization namespace is executed, right? While only 75% of your Apex code must be covered by tests, your focus shouldn't be on the percentage of code that is covered. Instead, you should make sure that every use case of your application is covered. Okay. So yeah, this is something that they say, but usually you as a developer will get into a habit where you just try to reach 75% somehow and then deploy the code. But it's a good practice to try and test everything. Let's say you have some validations in that object. You're performing an insert operation and you have some validations. Okay. So in the test, you should try to insert a dummy record which violates the validation rule, and then test if the record got inserted or not. That sort of things. Correct? No, this execute anonymous does not test. For test, we have another thing, Satish. And we will not also test this method. It's not about testing this method. It's about testing the test methods. Okay. So we have understood the concept of the test thing. So Salesforce basically wants you to write test methods for every method you have written. For everything that you have written, you need to write a test method. That is what they want you to do. Now what you need to test, what to test in Apex? Single action, whether your single action is happening properly or not. Bulk actions, whether your bulk actions are happening properly or not. So you can try to perform some action in bulk and test it. Positive behavior, whether your positive behavior test to verify that the expected behavior occurs. Negative behavior, there are likely limits to your application, such as not being able to add a future date. Okay, so negative behaviors also need to be tested, whether that part is working fine or not. So that is what I was actually talking about, that in case there is a validation or any negative behavior which should not be allowed. And a restricted user. Okay, so in case some users are not allowed to insert the record, you might want to create a method and run as that particular user and test the code that way. Okay. So let's say Santosh is not allowed to enter record. He does not have a create right on his profile on the account, right? And I have written a class for account, inserting account, right? Now the account is being inserted fine properly in general is fine. It will be good if you also test this thing, run as and then username Santosh, and then try to do the entire thing and see that are you getting an exception or you are getting a insert record which is happening, right? So that is the thing. Okay. So these things are required to be tested ideally. So single action, bulk action, positive behavior, negative behavior, all these things need to be tested. Okay. Now, so by all these things, what we have understood that test is basically for testing, we need to define our unit test method or something, right? So let's say for simple methods, you can straight away define the test method and all. let's say we are here. Let me write a method or let me write a class. Okay, let's say this is your class and this is a method. And now you want to test this one. At this point of time, if you go to this C9, it does not have any code coverage. Fine, because there is no test written for it. What we need to do, we need to write a test class for it. Okay. Let me go on. You can write test class here also. It's just like, writing a new class. Any test class that you are writing needs to start with this @isTest. Though this is not mandatory. Okay, it may or may not start with this. Your test method, if you are defining, that's more than enough. But why it is advisable to start this thing with this annotation? Because if you read it here, you have a limitation of 3 million characters that can be used for Apex coding. Okay. So if there is a limitation of 3 million characters which can be used for Apex coding, out of these 3 million characters, this the comments, remember we were putting comments are not included, and @isTest annotated classes are not included, right? So if you do not put this annotation @isTest, then the text, then the code that you write in the test class, that will also be counted in this limit, and you will reach your limitation of the coding very quickly. So for that reason, you need to write this while creating a test class. Let's create this. And then it's more or less the same story. Public class for testing. Okay. What was my class? C9, right? What is the keyword for this? Just give me a minute. Give me 1 minute, I'll just correct that keyword thing. It's going to be a static method. Okay. Okay. So what was the name of the method that we gave? Okay, let's see now, c.hello. This is fine. Get hello. So this is a test method. So we have written a static test method. Okay. And this is the name of the test method. So this is all keywords. This is the name of the test method. You could put anything. Okay. So a test method should have this test method keyword there always. Okay. So the Salesforce understands whether it's a test method or it's an actual method. So when you try to test something, your test method gets executed, not the actual methods, right? So now this in test method, you have to, just go and define all the actions that are happening in the actual method. Fine. The only difference is that test method will be done on a dummy data. Okay. So test method does not commit any data to the database. It does not perform any action. It just checks things. Okay. So if you are performing an insert operation inside the test method, you say insert A. That insert A will actually not insert any record in the database. Test methods never commit actual data. Okay, that completely works on a dummy environment, and it is just for testing. So while testing, you don't need to worry. You can just define a dummy record and then you can test it. Okay. So here we had a simple method. What I have done is that was in that class. So I have called that method. I have defined an instance of that class C9, C equals to new C9, and then I define the c.getHello. So this is what I want to execute. So my test method will execute this and see if there is an error or not. If this is fine, it will give me code coverage for the method. Okay.
Can you show the C9 please?
Sorry?
Show the C9 class, just want to see the code.
C is an instance of that. C9 is the class. Class name is C9.
So, yeah, C9 class, can you show please one time?
C9, yes. Let me open it in a new tab. So C9 is the class and getHello is a method on that, right? So this is the method which I want to test. So I just say C dot, so I define an instance for that. Do this. Alright, now let's go and run the test method. So I will not need to run the actual method now. My point is to run the test method. Okay. So you can run the test method from this web application also. You have run all test option here, or you can go to your test method class for testing. So whichever test class you have defined, you can go to that class and you can say run test. Run all test would run all the tests that you have. This will run only the tests under this class. Other option of running the test is going to the developer console and go to test, new run. You have run all and then you have new run. Show me later. Okay, this is the test class I want to run. Select it, put it in this side and say run. Okay. So this is the test which we executed. You can double click and open this. Okay, result, it got passed. Fine. Now as a result, because this test method passed, it will provide code coverage to which code? C9, right? Because this test method was meant for C9. So it will provide code coverage to C9. Now if you go and open classes, okay, here is my C9 code. Code coverage provided to C9 100%. See? So that is the thing. Got this logic of doing a testing. Now testing is for everything. Whatever you do, you need to test everything. Okay, now let's understand a little more about testing here. So we have just seen that whatever actual methods we have defined, we'll have to go and define unit test methods for them, and we'll have to go and call those actions there in that test method to see whether that method is working fine or not, right? So in this test method, if you see, test method is again calling getHello method to see if that's functioning fine or not, right? That is what was tested. Now, okay, test data, we have to understand what is the test data. So test data is basically, what you do here is, what we have to understand is test method does not have access to the actual database. Okay, few important things that you need to understand. Test method cannot access actual database. So as I told you, it cannot perform actions on the actual database. It cannot access the data from there. So test methods are isolated from actual database. And the reason is pretty simple and clear, right? Because Salesforce does not want you to go and make changes in your actual database just for the sake of testing. So test methods are isolated from actual database. This is very important thing that you need to understand. So in this case, we were talking, in this example, we talked about a string, right? That is fine. Some other example, you might be working with an S object. So if you are dealing with an S object, you have to define your S object for testing. Fine. So if you are in your actual method, if you have account A equals to select name from account where ID equals to XYZ, if this is the actual method, and then you are doing some update here. While writing the test method, you cannot say this. Why you cannot say this? Because it will not understand anything. What is this? It does not know what is the ID. It cannot fetch it from there. It understands the field names and everything, but it does not have access to the database to refer to this ID and all. So in that case, for your test method, you should write account A equals new account, and then supply the value from your side. So supply some dummy value, let's say Dell and industry equals something. So whatever dummy value you supply from your side, and try to perform an update operation for that. Right? So perform an update operation for that. Update A, something like this. Got it? So this kind of statement will not work for your test class. This will work. Right? So you have to define your own set of data for your test classes. Test class cannot access data from there. Rest, whatever you have defined in your method, you just need to test that. So you just need to test whether that insert operation is happening fine or not, or that update. So if you just do that much, it will go and test if that insert is happening or not, or the update is happening or not. That will be checked. Fine. Clear on the unit test part? What we are doing, how we are doing? Are we clear?